Since the creation of electronic books, there's been a recurrent discussion among avid readers. Should we go for the ebooks or for the paper books? In this video, we'll compare both of them side by side and see if there's an actual winner. Hi everyone, my name is Elsa and I've been using a Kindle for several years now. In this video, I'll be breaking down the advantages of reading on Kindle over physical books. Then I'll list in which cases it's actually better to stick with physical books. And finally, I'll derive some conclusions on whether it would be better for you to actually get a Kindle or just stay with physical books. I'll leave the timestamps down below in case you want to skip to the conclusion. Now let's have a look at the advantages of using Kindle. The first advantage would be its weight. Let's just assume that a 300 pages book weighs around 400 grams, while a Kindle Paperwhite like this one right here only weighs 182 grams. That is insane, that's literally half the weight. And I'm telling you, you'll notice the difference if you're used to reading while commuting or in coffee shops. Look at this, it's super thin. You can literally throw this into your bag and forget about it. Personally, this fact has made me way more likely to bring the Kindle with me wherever I go, and therefore read more than I used to with paper books. It's also way easier to hold than a paper book. For example, if I was having breakfast, I would end up holding the book like this in this kind of weird position while having breakfast, which is kind of uncomfortable. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Let me know in the comments below if you also have this struggle. It's kind of weird, but yeah, not as comfortable as using a Kindle. The other key benefit that I've found is space. I used to struggle a lot to store all the books in my room. They just took so much space. Since I've gone digital, it's been way easier to keep my room minimal. And also it's been a huge benefit to be able to carry all my library with me wherever I go. That's just incredible. Another key benefit is that you can read in low light situations. Kindle has an integrated light that comes from the sides of the screen and not from behind it, like it happens with mobile phones. So you won't have the feeling of a harsh light, like it happens with other digital devices. Another benefit is instant access to the biggest library. With the pandemic, we've realized of how many things we can't do during lockdown. One of them, going to bookstores. Even though technically you can still purchase a book and get it delivered to your home. With Kindle, you can download any book at any time as long as you have internet connection. Kindle books are usually way cheaper than physical books, so in the long run, you may end up saving a lot of money. One of my favorite features of Kindle is its highlight and note-taking system. While you're reading, you can easily highlight and take notes on the go. I particularly benefit from this as I mostly read non-fiction books. In theory, you could also do this with paper books, but it's not even close to the experience you get with Kindle. With Kindle, you can easily export all of your highlights and revise them later on. Plus, you don't need to carry sticky notes or pens with you, just your Kindle. Once again, it's about simplifying and reducing the friction to actually read. Word translation. For people who don't read in their native language, this is gonna be a good one. In Kindle, if you don't understand a word, you can just tap it and get an instant translation. You'll get results from the dictionary, Wikipedia, and Google Translate. This was such a game changer for me. Before, I used to have to reach for my phone and look for the word if I didn't know the meaning. That would just get me out of the reading experience, as I would end up checking notifications and eventually just getting distracted. So this feature has really helped avoiding distractions while reading. And last but not least, by buying electronic books instead of physical books, you're contributing to reduce deforestation. I know this is not an immediate benefit for you, but it is for our planet, so I think it's worth mentioning. Now let's have a look at the advantages of physical books. One of the key advantages of physical books is colors. In Kindle, everything is black and white. So if you want to read comics or books containing main illustrations, paper books are the way to go. In theory, you could still read a comic in Kindle, but I wouldn't recommend it. Books are really aesthetically pleasing to look at. They make any space look cozy, and they make you look like an intellectual when friends come over. I mean, you can try to make your Kindle look nicer with a case, but it can't compete against an actual book cover. The feeling of reading a book. You can't compare the touch and smell of reading an actual book. This is by far the most heard argument against using Kindle. It's not something really important for me, as I mostly read for the content of the book. But hey, fair enough. The last argument in favor of paper books is that they never run out of battery. If tomorrow we get hit by a meteor and we stop having electricity, you could still read one of these. It's worth mentioning that Kindle battery lasts several months in one go. So if you can be bothered to charge your phone every single day, I think charging your Kindle every couple of months shouldn't be that hard. So should you get a Kindle? The short answer is probably yes. Now the long answer is you shouldn't get a Kindle if you don't read very often, like once a year, don't even bother to buy it, or if you just read comics and books containing illustrations. An alternative, if you read comics and you really want to go digital, would be using an iPad, for example. If you're not in any of those situations, just get a Kindle. If you read a variety of books and just some illustrated books here and there, buy those on paper and then get a Kindle to read the rest. Also, if you are still unsure because you love the feeling of physical books, I would argue that in most cases we don't read books purely because of their feeling, but also because of the immense value that they provide. In my opinion, if we compare the feeling of reading a physical book with all the other benefits that Kindle provides, I would definitely go with the Kindle. I also think that the experience of reading on Kindle is actually fairly good, and you'll get used to it pretty quickly. But hey, I'm curious of what you think. Let me know in the comments below if you would rather go with the Kindle or with paper books. If you found this video useful, make sure to subscribe, as I'll be posting another video comparing different Kindle models so you can choose the best fit for you. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.